The Renal Network of the Upper Midwest presents Living Well on Hemodialysis.
The lives of the people you're about to meet have been affected by kidney disease. It's not an easy diagnosis to hear. It can be overwhelming. There's a lot to learn and absorb. Those trying to juggle school or work, family life, and hemodialysis face some unique challenges. Bill Price had recently been promoted to school principal when his kidneys failed.
My kidneys started leaking protein probably about 5 years before I had to go on dialysis. And in '95, it just got to the point, the creatinine got so high that at one of my visits he said, "You're going to have to go on dialysis." And so, I was really stunned. And I said to him, "Do I have to?" And he said, "Yes, because if you don't, you won't make it to Christmas." That was real difficult for me because I was promoted to principal April of '95, I believe it is. In December of '95, my kidneys go out, and that was really difficult to take.
Judy McLaughlin's kidneys failed as she was eagerly making plans for high school graduation.
2 weeks before graduation of high school in 1978, I was feeling a little bloated and had symptoms of nausea and just not feeling right. So I did go to the doctor, and he sent me right away to the hospital thinking that it probably was kidney failure, and in fact it was. So I was let out of the hospital the day of graduation, but only on the terms that I returned that night by 6 o'clock. At the time I was thinking that everything could be fixed, like with a pill or a prescription, and a transplant was discussed, and I thought, okay, there's the answer. But then 9 months later, after the operation, it rejected, so reality hit in that it wasn't the answer, and that this would be something that I would have to live with for the rest of my life.
Dan Foss has faced a lifetime of health challenges. He was diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease in the 1970s, suffered a stroke while in his early 20s, and has recovered from a bout with bladder cancer.
Because of my father's experiences on dialysis, I had been terrified of being on dialysis for 10, 15 years. And the news, when I learned it in the early 80s, absolutely devastated me. To find out that I would have to go through dialysis just as I had seen my father and ultimately have a transplant was really more than I could take at that time. I spent the 80s sort of in a self-destructive lifestyle as a result of that.
These people lead active lives that are affected by their kidney disease but not controlled by it. And you can too. If you need hemodialysis, it can be a challenge to fit it into your life. In this program, you'll hear from people who are living well with kidney disease and hemodialysis. Each has a different story to tell. Their lives are not likely to be identical to yours, but they've faced some of the same challenges, made some of the same good and bad choices, and are now living full lives. Denial, anger, grief.
The whole process of denial is so real. I mean, it's almost as if you have to go through that. And I certainly didn't know at the time that I was going through it. I just was fearful, and I didn't want to know certain things.
You always have it in your mind that one of these days your kidney's going to kick back in and you're going to be all right.
I drank and smoked and did all kinds of crazy things, and actually had a lot of fun doing them. But at the same time, my actions were really just sort of based on the refusal to face my health situation.
your denial, a lot of times, like I mentioned before, turns into anger, and that happens to just about everybody. And I mean, you know, it's the why me syndrome. Why did this happen to me? You're going to have to work that out of your system.
Yeah, I had a lot of anger, you know, because you see people, you know, your family and your friends, and they up and at them, and you just look at them, and you still laying in the bed.
You know, you mad at the doctor because you think they don't know what they're talking about, and they tell you to do one thing, you do another.
You feel like it's 100-pound weight on your shoulder, literally pulling you down to the ground. It's hard.
Acceptance takes time.
But I don't think I probably accepted it until probably, I'm sure, about 6 months after that this is the way it's going to be.
You can't sort of accept what's happening to you. So I would say that it took a good year.
I was a little depressed. I think there aren't too many people that could start dialysis and not be a little depressed.
Oh, I just finally got to accept the things I couldn't change, and, you know, worked on getting better. I worked real hard on getting better.
I think people handle problems in one of two ways. Either you deny it and pay the consequence, or accept it and make the best of it.
Cheating.
I felt like a Frankenstein, you know, that I depended on this machine to live. And at one point, I thought, I don't want to live like this. You know, but I didn't dialyze for maybe 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, and I got really, really sick. I got really, really confused. I was hallucinating, and it would have been a horrible way to die. And I said, no, I'm gonna go in. I don't know how I made it in. I made it.
I had a friend who, well, he died, okay? So that, he out-cheated, he outsmarted himself. But he wouldn't come to, dialysis only when he felt like coming. Always his runs would be bad. Then he would get mad, and then, it's like, take me out the machine. I want to get out the machine, You missed 2 days. You're overloaded. You came in with a burger. Now you want to get off this machine?
I used to come in like 10, 11, 12 kilos over. I mean, I couldn't even sleep laying down. I had to sleep sitting up in a chair with my feet propped up. Because when you got that much fluid on, you lay down and it cuts your breath off, you lay down. So it was hard for me, but not being able to breathe, when you lay down, that'll make you stop drinking a lot of fluid.
Usually be pretty sick, feeling pretty bad after you miss a run. I have missed 2 and 3. And, but I was running the streets and doing other things then. But, you learn that it's best not to miss them,
I was gaining too much fluid and trying to eat and drink along with my friends and what they were participating in. And I soon came to realize, after a few times of not feeling that good during my treatment and after, that to only do what the doctor said and to be compliant would only make me feel better. But it did take about a year for me to understand that.
If you do not make your dialysis treatments, you're cheating yourself out of a good life. The more times you miss, the worse you're going to feel.
Temptation.
I know when you're young, you got to prove your masculinity and how tough you are and all that kind of thing. You want to be a part of the group of the guys. That might be a little tough because you are not the same as everybody else.
A lot of people don't realize it, how serious a condition is renal failure. You know, they see me and they see I'm in good shape. I'm able to, you know, to walk and play basketball and, you know, just not be sick, you know, and they'll be like, well, you can have a beer or you can have a drink or you can do this and you can do that, and I'll say, no, I can't, because it makes me sick.
You know, when you're young, you try to figure out things around and ways around the system. The bottom line is you're still not going to feel good.
At some point in time, you realize that being ill wasn't worth the pizza and the beer or whatever you chose to do.
Being compliant on dialysis makes you a better candidate for a transplant because it implies that you will continue to follow the prescribed routine after the transplant.
So if you want to live long, you want to be around to reach 30, 40, 50, let your friends do what your friends want to do, and you stop doing what they're doing and start doing what you're supposed to do. Like get your treatments, don't skip, eat the right foods, limit your fluid intake. Those are going to be the things that are going to keep you around. And those very things that your friends are doing, like drinking, smoking, partying, doing drugs, those are going to be the things that's going to make them not be around. I mean, just because you're on dialysis, you can outlive those people that's doing drugs, that have perfect kidney function. You know, let them keep doing it. You can outlive them if you do what you got to do.
The numbers tell the story. If you shorten more than 3 treatments a month, your risk of death increases by 20%. If you skip more than 1 treatment a month, your risk of death increases by 25%. And if you gain more than 7 or 8 pounds between dialysis treatments, your risk of death increases by 35%. Living well.
I've had ups and downs. You know, you go through periods, and the adjustment in particular. But I have maintained my full-time work status. You know, my employer has been very good.
In order to get a more manageable schedule, Bill transferred from his principal's position to central administration, where he oversees alternative high school programs for the school district. And he rediscovered some other activities he'd always enjoyed.
I resumed aspects of my life that I could do, you know, my gardening and doing walking, digging flower beds. Those flowers out there are results of my going through this this acceptance phase with this illness.
Bill works hard at fitting exercise into his schedule.
I cut my own grass. I shovel my own snow. I could pay to have that done, but that's my exercise. When you live alone, you have to do some things for yourself. You can't wait for other people to do things, and I think that's been one of my strong assets, is that I am very independent.
3 to 4 years after it was diagnosed is really when it all set in for me. And then once I realized that this is what was going to be my life, I decided to learn all that I could about it, become as involved as I could in it. And so I really took it all by storm at that point.
Judy became a spokesperson for the National Kidney Foundation in Texas and fit college courses and aerobic dance competitions into her active life. Dialysis has become just one part of her normal routine.
It's almost like a part-time job for me. The only difference is that I can't call in sick and I don't get vacation days.
Recently, she's been working hard to get an elevator installed at her church to accommodate those in wheelchairs. When she and her husband do take vacation time, they enjoy traveling, especially if it involves sun and sand. Even though her second transplant failed, Judy maintains a positive attitude and an active life while on dialysis.
I don't think that dialysis should rule your life.
In the 80s, the reason I think I was living the sort of moment-to-moment life was because I saw my life coming to an end with kidney failure, and I didn't want to have a transplant. I didn't really even want to go on dialysis. So it was like my life had been compressed 10 or 20 years, and I needed to live the whole life in that time. My father was on dialysis for 8 years and had a kidney transplant in the mid-'80s. And he had a very severe heart attack 5 years ago. But he is still with us, and his attitude is just remarkable. And, you know, I guess what I try and do on dialysis is sort of follow his example that he set for me.
Dan's own recovery from cancer and his father's transplant experience helped him gain a new perspective and let some positive things into his life.
When I look at who I am today and what I'm doing, I am so grateful for all the help I received along the way. I've made a remarkable recovery, and the main reason for that is because of being hired by Lutheran Brotherhood. Going to work is really like going home. It's like being with family.
Sure. I'll put them up on the board.
Now, having been on dialysis for 2.5 years and doing just wonderfully on it, I can begin to imagine what it would be like to be 50 or 60 years old, and can actually see myself now for the first time in 10 or 15 years as an old man with white hair, which is something I never really was able to see before.
Dealing with hemo.
The morning before, I prepare like someone would to go to a job. I have a little bag, like someone would pack their lunch. I pack a little bag.
I do my homework. I read. Problems that I had in school that if I didn't quite understand, I use that time to figure those problems out.
I take my work with me, and I do memos, and they will provide a phone for me, and I call schools that I need to call.
I remember a friend who was a stockbroker. He would sit there and, you know, do his stockbroker deals on the telephone while he was on dialysis.
I like to read. You know, I get Newsweek and Time and read those, and read the newspaper.
Taking an active role.
I take a very active role in my health care. I ask appropriate questions. I write the questions down so I don't forget them. When I'm at home and I think of a question, I jot them down. And I type them out because my handwriting is not so good. So I type them out and take them in. And he responds to that. I think he likes that.
I talk to just about every patient in there, trying to find out how did they learn how to deal with it, what did they do, how long have they been on dialysis. I wanted to know everything. What was my chances of living? How long can I live on dialysis? Everything. How long does a fistula last? What do I have to do to make sure that mine lasts long? To make sure I didn't have any clots. You just ask everything that you can possibly imagine, you ask.
At first I just ignored them, but then I realized I would be sick when I ignored them, so I started to realize that these people know what they're talking about.
Respect yourself.
Before dialysis, I was reckless. I was hostile. I was angry. I was not a good character, really. And dialysis kind of made me be more humble and really kind of look at life, and, you know, for what it's really worth.
My whole life is better. I care about people. I care about myself.
Not everybody's dealt a good hand of poker when you're playing the game, but you want to play the hand you have to the best of your ability. You want to optimize those cards, and that's what I try to do every day.
I really believe that when you've been through a hard place, you come on the other side much, much stronger.
I mean, just because you're on dialysis, that doesn't mean that you're dying. With me, it's the opposite. I'm on dialysis, and it means that I'm living it.
What do you do when you have lemons? You know, you either have to make lemonade, lemon pie, or lemon custard, you know, but make something sweet out of it.
This is your second chance at life. I mean, you know, a lot of people in the world don't have this second chance, and you got to make the most out of it. So You know, you get up in the morning, the sun is shining, and you're going to say, I'm going to make the best out of this day that I possibly can.
Do you respect yourself enough to make the best of it?
I'm Ruth Agrusa. I'm an acting vice principal of an elementary school in Milwaukee. I was on hemodialysis for 22 months, so I know what you're going through. I have been where you are now. I'm very thankful I have had a working transplant for the last 19 years. As chairman of the Renal Network Consumer Committee, I'm very pleased that we were able to share the collective wisdom of the dialysis consumers who appeared on this program. Remember, you are the most important person on your hemodialysis team. You know your body better than anyone else. It's your life. Take control of it. Take care.
If you have questions about hemodialysis, consult your healthcare team.